Sony engineered the PlayStation 5 around a multi-tiered privilege hierarchy, integrating hardware-enforced defense perimeters like Level 0 hypervisors and secure memory encryption. Every layer is designed to block unauthorized code execution and insulate the system kernel from silicon-level reverse engineering. Yet, despite these nested hardware protections, the architecture was eventually compromised through two specific overlooked vectors: the interactive menus of standard Blu-ray discs and routine networking packets. To understand why Sony treats these breaches as an existential threat, we must examine the razor and blades business model. Console manufacturers sell physical hardware at a marginal profit, rarely exceeding 5% or even at a loss. The true revenue engine is the 30% platform fee Sony collects on third-party digital software, microtransactions, and recurring subscriptions. Over a 5-year life cycle, a legal consumer generates over $1,200 in lifetime value. When a console is jailbroken to run unauthorized code, its software revenue contribution drops to exactly zero. On an enterprise balance sheet, a pirated console is a dead capital asset. This is why Sony invests tens of millions into defensive research, rather than leaving back doors to boost hardware sales. Every jailbroken unit represents a direct impairment to their software-driven margins. During the PlayStation 3 generation, Sony fought hardware breaches with aggressive litigation, engaging in a highly contentious legal war with prominent hackers like George Hotz. For the PlayStation 5, Sony pivoted to a corporate strategy of financial incentivization. Instead of seeking injunctions, they established institutionalized collaboration through a formal bug bounty program on HackerOne. Under this framework, Sony offers up to $50,000 for critical kernel-level exploits. To date, they have disbursed over $2.5 million to global researchers in exchange for private, responsible disclosure. This strategy includes a mandatory 90-day confidentiality quarantine. This period allows Sony's engineers to receive detailed vulnerability blueprints and deploy firmware patches before the exploit code can ever be weaponized by the public. This economic moat ensures that functional jailbreaks are structurally delayed. Public exploits almost exclusively function on older firmware versions that trail the current retail environment by 6 to 12 months. Moving from the economics to the microarchitecture, we find Prospero OS. It is a fortified system that manages access through a strictly defined privilege hierarchy. At the perimeter is Userland, or Ring 3. This is where user-facing apps and the console's hidden WebKit browsers operate. Each process is confined within an isolated sandbox to prevent unauthorized inter-process communication. Below that is the kernel space at Ring 0. Gaining execution privilege here is a primary goal for hackers, as it allows for the manipulation of software pipelines and hardware scheduling. The defining defense of the PS5 is the Level 0 hypervisor. This hardware-enforced monitor encapsulates the kernel and enforces a policy called write XOR execute. This ensures that memory cannot be simultaneously writable and executable, effectively blocking traditional shellcode injection. The final layer is the AMD Platform Security Processor. This isolated cryptographic coprocessor oversees secure boot and RSA signature validation, remaining entirely separate from the main x86 execution cores. Sony also integrated secure memory encryption, which uses real-time hardware engines to scramble data traversing the GDDR6 memory bus. This hardware innovation makes physical attacks, like bus sniffing, entirely obsolete on this generation of hardware. Furthermore, execute-only memory prevents attackers from reading system binaries to reverse engineer them. Hackers cannot simply dump the kernel. They are forced to use intricate return-oriented programming chains. Bypassing this panopticon requires more than a single bug. Attackers must chain multiple memory anomalies across these isolation layers to establish a foothold. In June 2022, the security landscape shifted when researcher Andy Nguyen disclosed the BDJ exploit chain. The breach stemmed from an architectural oversight in the console's optical drive subsystem.
Sony failed to implement strict memory isolation between the Java virtual machine used for Blu-ray menus and the host Prospero OS userland. Researchers weaponized this by burning custom Java bytecode payloads onto physical Blu-ray discs. Because the exploit runs locally from a disk, it bypasses the network dependencies of earlier browser-based entry points. By authoring custom archives containing weaponized heap spray arrays, attackers achieved reliable, arbitrary memory primitives within the Ring 3 sandbox. While conquering the userland sandbox via optical media is a significant entry point, it remains an isolated foothold. To fully unlock the console, hackers still needed to breach the kernel. That massive breach finally came through a critical IPv6 use after free vulnerability, a flaw found deep within the FreeBSD networking stack. In a use after flaw, network sockets are deallocated, and their memory descriptors are marked as free, but the underlying pointers are not immediately cleared. By flooding the networking stack with precisely crafted socket control messages, attackers can reclaim these dangling pointers with controlled data before the system can reallocate the snace. This race condition allows attackers to hijack the kernel's control flow, bypassing memory randomization and achieving full ring zero execution. Frameworks like KSTAS utilize this access to dynamically patch kernel verification routines in volatile RAM. This allows the system to launch unauthorized homebrew or game backups by spoofing a successful signature check. This multi-stage chain enabled stable supervisor access across specific system revisions, allowing unauthorized code to execute entirely in RAM without ever permanently modifying the console's internal encrypted SSD. As these exploits became public, the community was flooded with misinformation regarding the physical impact of a jailbreak, ranging from extreme thermal runaway to claims of total processor burnout. The laboratory facts tell a different story. The liquid metal interface remains hermetically sealed against the vapor chamber. A jailbreak is strictly a software-based modification, adhering to Sony's factory dynamic power envelopes and fan curves, never altering voltages or bypassing thermal throttling. From a microarchitectural perspective, claims that modified software causes liquid metal degradation or heat sink burnout are scientifically false. The real technical risk is operational instability. Because privilege escalation relies on manipulating delicate memory race conditions, slight timing discrepancies inevitably trigger kernel panics, causing the console to shut down abruptly. While the software environment is volatile and prone to lockups, the physical hardware and silicon durability remain perfectly untouched. Firmwares 3.0 to 4.51 currently represent the ceiling for stable console exploitation. In this environment, independent researchers have utilized supervisor access to realize performance gains and preservation goals that were neglected by official retail channels. The most prominent example is the Bloodborne 60 FPS patch. By unlocking the frame rate on jailbroken hardware, the title can execute at a native 4K resolution at a locked 60 frames per second. This requires deep engine-level reverse engineering. Developers had to disassemble the game's executable to recalibrate hard-coded delta time multipliers, preventing the physics simulation from running at double speed when the frame limiter was removed. Other community achievements include booting full Linux Fedora distributions to utilize the console as a Vulkan-accelerated workstation and the archival preservation of legacy titles through custom emulation. However, Sony enforces a permanent countermeasure through hardware eFuses. When updating firmware, specific fuse arrays permanently burn, making software-based downgrading physically impossible. Triggering these hardware markers or transmitting anomalous security tokens leads to permanent console ID bans. This irreversibly blacklists the physical motherboard from all Sony cloud services and online multiplayer. Jailbreaking enables unauthorized visual performance and local computational control, but the technical trade-off is absolute. Achieving these local gains requires total, permanent isolation from the modern, interconnected gaming network.